You know, I've heard this line so many times it almost became a mantra. If he loves you, he'll ignore you. As if silence is some kind of poetic proof of deep affection, as if being left in the dark somehow lights the path to love. Let me tell you right now, love does not silence you. Love doesn't make you feel small. Love doesn't show up in absence. When someone truly sees you, truly values you, they don't disappear to prove it. They show up consistently, loudly, clearly. They don't make you second. Guess your worth just to keep you on your toes. If someone can't use their voice to say what they feel, if they can't meet you halfway with openness, respect, or basic communication, that's not romance. It's emotional laziness disguised as mystery. There is this toxic glamorization of pain that's been sold to us. Like the more you suffer, the more real the love is. Let's get one thing straight. There's nothing noble about emotional starvation. There's nothing divine about waiting by your phone, rereading the last message, or wondering why your presence isn't enough to earn a response. We're told to interpret mixed signals as passion, but love isn't cryptic. Love doesn't play hide and seek. Love doesn't watch you unravel just to feel powerful. When someone ignores you, it doesn't mean you're too much. It doesn't mean you need to tone yourself down. It means they can't handle your brilliance, and that's not your burden to carry. You see, love, real love, isn't about withholding affection as a way to gain control. It's about giving, not in grand gestures, but in simple, steady truths. It's the text that says, "Hey, I'm thinking of you." It's the presence that feels like safety, not suspense. It's showing up even on the days when it's not convenient. And if you're sitting there wondering why someone who claims to care can so easily act like you don't exist, here's what I'll say. That's not love, that's ego. Love doesn't thrive in silence. Ego does. Ego plays games. Love builds, and I know it hurts. I know that silence can be deafening. That space between what you gave and what you received can feel like a void too wide to cross. But here's the truth. You don't need to chase clarity where there is none. You don't need to beg for attention from someone who's busy playing pretend. Silence is not power. Communication is. Vulnerability is. Connection is. Love is. So let's stop settling for the narrative that love has to hurt, that distance equals desire, that pulling away is some kind of proof of devotion. That is outdated. That is broken. That is not your story anymore. And if you've been on the receiving end of that silence, I want you to stop questioning yourself. Stop rehearsing every conversation. Stop picking apart your words and wondering what you did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong by loving someone openly. You didn't make a mistake by showing up with your whole heart. Your value is not determined by someone else's inability to receive it. When someone loves you, they don't make you doubt that love. They make it obvious. They hold space for you. They lean in. They make sure you never have to wonder whether or not you matter. So no, love does not look like being ignored. Love looks like effort. Love sounds like truth. Love feels like peace. And if you're not getting that, walk away. Not because you're bitter, but because you've finally remembered what you deserve. You were never asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong person. 4 you said, expand key point 2 into a 800 words segment, flowing naturally within the speech and maintaining alignment with the overall key points. Avoid any headings and ensure the tone is seamless and conversational. Conclude with only the necessary closing line for impact and don't mention Prinka Chopra name and write it like Prinka Chopra is giving speech in key point. ChatGPT said, "Let's be honest, we've all heard it. He's just ignoring you because he doesn't want to come off too eager. Or he likes you, that's why he's keeping his distance. Really, since when did ignoring someone become a form of affection?" We've reached a point where emotional neglect is being dressed up as a love language, and that needs to stop, right here, right now. Let's stop making excuses for behavior that's rooted in fear, immaturity, or manipulation. Ignoring someone is not mysterious, it's not sexy, and it's definitely not some strategic move in a game called How to Make Them Chase You. We're not chasing, we're not begging, and we're certainly not decoding silence like it's some ancient love poem written in invisible ink. If someone needs to ignore you to feel powerful, that's not romantic. That's a red flag with a spotlight on it, because love doesn't hide behind silence. Love is not afraid of being clear. Love is not a guessing game. The problem is, we've been conditioned, especially as women, to interpret neglect as a sign of depth, as if the less they give, the more meaningful it must be. But here's the reality. Emotional immaturity should never be mistaken for emotional depth. When someone lacks the tools to communicate, that's not passion, that's avoidance, that's fear wrapped in ego. We are not here to babysit someone's potential. We are not rehab centers for people who refuse to heal. You are not here to interpret crumbs and call it a feast. If someone wants to be in your life, they won't be silent. They won't make you feel like you're just another option on a to-do list. They will show you, in ways both big and small, that your presence matters. Because when someone genuinely values you, they will prioritize clarity over confusion, and when they don't, you'll feel it, in the delays, in the vague replies, in the absence of effort. Let me say this loud and clear. Someone who ignores you is not challenging you, they are disrespecting you. And yes, I know, the silence can make you spiral. You start questioning yourself. Did I say too much? Was I too intense? Should I have played it cooler? But no. Stop right there. Don't twist yourself trying to fit into someone else's broken emotional blueprint. Ignoring is not a strength, it's not control, it's not masculinity, it's weakness, it's an inability to be real, and real love requires bravery, it demands emotional presence, not absence. It asks for honesty, not games. So what do you do when the silence hits? You resist the urge to shrink. You don't chase it. You don't romanticize it. You look it dead in the face and say, "This is not love. This is not how I deserve to be treated." And then you reclaim your voice. You don't let silence silence you. You start loving yourself louder than someone else can ignore you. Because when you recognize that being ignored is not an expression of love, something inside you shifts. Your standards rise, your self-respect sharpens, and the moment you stop feeding off scraps of attention, the clearer everything becomes. You don't crave what confuses you anymore. You don't romanticize the pull dance that leaves you exhausted and empty. You begin to understand that love doesn't look like disappearing when it's inconvenient. It doesn't sound like radio silence when you need reassurance. It doesn't feel like walking on eggshells, praying for acknowledgement. Love is not absence, love is presence, and if someone can't show up, let them go, because the moment you start accepting avoidance as love, you teach yourself to settle for less. But when you begin to call it what it is, emotional immaturity, you set yourself free. Free from the confusion, free from the cycles, free from needing someone to validate your worth through their attention. And that, right there, is power. Not the kind of power that plays games, but the kind that walks away without a second glance. The kind that knows silence isn't love, it's just silence. And silence will never be enough for a woman who's finally learned to hear herself. 4-0, you said, expand key point 3 into a 800-word segment, flowing naturally within the speech and maintaining alignment with the overall key points. Avoid any headings, and ensure the tone is seamless and conversational. Conclude with only the necessary closing line for impact, and don't mention Prinka Chopra name, and write it like Prinka Chopra is giving speech in key point. ChatGPT said, one of the most dangerous lies we're told, especially when love starts to feel like confusion, is this: maybe you're just too much, too intense, too emotional, too ambitious, too available, too deep. That maybe if you had played it a little cooler, stayed a little quieter, been a little less you, things would have worked out. But let me tell you something, you are not too much, you were never too much. You are simply someone who's learning what they deserve. That heaviness you're feeling right now, it's not because you're unlovable, it's not because you asked for something unreasonable, it's because you asked for honesty. You asked for effort, you asked for reciprocity, and what you got in return was inconsistency, silence, or games. That gap between what you gave and what you received, that's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their capacity. So no, the negative feelings you're carrying, self-doubt, sadness, anger, they don't mean something's wrong with you. They mean you loved with an open heart in a world that sometimes rewards detachment. And even though it hurts, even though it feels like rejection, it's actually something deeper. It's a reckoning, a moment where your spirit is asking, why am I pouring so much into someone who only shows up when it's easy? You are not hard to love. You are just refusing to accept a version of love that demands your silence, your restraint, your smaller self. And that's powerful. We've all been there, sitting alone with our thoughts, wondering why we weren't enough to keep someone's attention, wondering what we could have done differently, replaying every interaction, obsessing over our tone, our timing, our truth. But the truth is, when you have to overthink your own authenticity just to be accepted, you're in the wrong place. Love should never ask you to edit your essence. The negative feelings, those moments of sadness or frustration, they're not weaknesses, they're signals, they're your intuition screaming, this isn't right, you deserve more. And instead of drowning those feelings in self-blame, you need to honor them, because they're not there to tear you down, they're there to wake you up. You are evolving. Every time your heart breaks, every time you outgrow the version of love you once tolerated, you become someone stronger, sharper, wiser. You become someone who knows the difference between being chosen and being used, between passion and instability, between love and longing, and that evolution isn't always graceful. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's sitting on your bedroom floor crying over someone who didn't even have the decency to say goodbye properly. Sometimes it's scrolling through old messages trying to figure out where things shifted. And sometimes it's waking up one morning and realizing you're done waiting for someone to treat you like a priority. Growth doesn't always look like confidence. Sometimes it looks like doubt, like heartbreak, like confusion. But it's still growth, and every negative feeling you experience when you're being overlooked, ignored, or misunderstood, it's molding you. It's building the version of you who no longer tolerates bare minimum effort, the version who no longer confuses attention with affection. You are becoming someone who sets the standard, not someone who begs to meet it. You're becoming someone who walks away, not because they don't feel deeply, but because they refuse to feel small. That strength, that clarity, that self-respect, that is the outcome of the storm you're walking through right now. That's the gift in the pain you're processing, and no, it's not easy, but it's necessary, because on the other side of those negative feelings is a version of you who's unstoppable, unapologetic, undeniable. So don't dull your shine, don't quiet your voice, don't mizzen your depth just to keep someone comfortable. If someone can't handle your truth, your heart, your ambition, they're not your person, and their inability to see your value does not reduce it. You're not too much. You're just enough for the love that's meant to meet you where you are. No games, no ego, no confusion. Just presence, just clarity, just peace. You are not hard to love. You are just learning not to settle for being tolerated. 4-0, you said. Expand key point 4 into a 800-word segment, flowing naturally within the speech and maintaining alignment with the overall key points. Avoid any headings and ensure the tone is seamless and conversational. Conclude with only the necessary closing line for impact and don't mention Prinka Chopra name and write it like Prinka Chopra is giving speech in key point. ChatGPT said, there comes a moment, maybe in the middle of the night, maybe in the middle of a conversation, where you realize something powerful. You've been waiting for someone to choose you, to validate you, to finally see you. You've been holding your breath, hoping that your silence will be enough to make them speak, that your effort will be enough to make them show up. But what if I told you that the love you've been begging for was never outside of you? That the magic you've been waiting for was already yours? We grow up thinking love is about being found. that someone will appear, sweep us off our feet, and fix the parts of us that feel broken, but that's a lie sold in stories. The truth, you are the love story. You are the one you've been waiting for. When someone ignores you, when they withhold affection or disappear just to keep control, it chips away at you, and over time you start questioning your light. You start dimming it, hoping maybe then you'll be easier to love. Maybe then they'll come closer, but let me say this, you were the magic all along, you just forgot. You forgot that your value doesn't come from being chosen. It comes from choosing yourself even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts, you forgot that silence isn't something you deserve to sit in just because someone can't handle your fullness, and you forgot that the absence of love from another person is not the absence of love from your life. Reclaiming your power isn't about revenge. It's not about proving anything to anyone. It's about remembering who you are when no one else is clapping for you, when the text doesn't come, when the silence stretches for days. When your heart breaks open but your spirit whispers, get up anyway. Getting up doesn't always look graceful. Sometimes it's shaky. Sometimes it's messy, but it's yours. That is where your strength lives. In the quiet decision to not let neglect define you. People will try to tell you that you're being dramatic, that you should be patient, that maybe he's just going through something, but your power is knowing the difference between compassion and self-abandonment, between loving someone and losing yourself in the process. Reclaiming your power means walking away, not with bitterness, but with clarity. It means you stop asking someone to meet you halfway when they never even took the first step. It means you stop trying to decode silence like it's some sacred language only women in pain can understand. Let's get this straight. Your power was never in their response. It was in your resilience. In your decision to stay kind in a world that tried to make you hard. In your refusal to stop believing in love, even when someone gave you every reason to stop. You don't overcome negative feelings by numbing them. You overcome them by facing them, by asking yourself, what was I really hoping to get from them that I haven't given to myself? Was it approval? Was it security? Was it the feeling of being enough? And then you start doing the work. Not to win someone back, but to win yourself back. You start writing your own narrative. You stop waiting for closure from someone who never gave you clarity. You stop chasing peace in someone else's presence and start building it within your own. Because here's the truth that changed everything for me. You were never meant to fit into someone else's version of love. You were meant to define your own, and that version, it includes joy that doesn't require performance. It includes being seen without shrinking. It includes love that doesn't arrive in fragments or half-heated hellos. So when you feel that familiar ache, the silence, the cold shoulder, the vague apologies, pause. Take a breath and remember who you are. You are the woman who rises, the woman who doesn't beg, the woman who transforms heartbreak into power, silence into clarity, and loneliness into self-love. Your light isn't up for negotiation. It's not a bargaining chip. It doesn't get dimmed just because someone else can't stand the brightness. The people who are meant for you will not only withstand that light, they will reflect it back. So don't water yourself down. Don't fold yourself in half just to be easier to hold. Let them go if they can't hold you fully. Let them walk if they don't know how to stay. And then walk yourself right back into your own arms. Because the real power isn't in being chosen, it's in choosing yourself every single time. 4